welcome everyone to a awesome rendition of CrossRoad in action. Truth be told, okay, our office, the CrossRoad program itself, the summer program, is for high school students. The session that we're about to give is normally given to high school students. So if you're like, well, this seems like might be for someone younger, totally understandable. We're gonna kind of up the maturity level for you as we walk through this whole thing. But just to be upfront, that's where our background is. Our office also is involved with what's called the Telos Project. That's our young adult ministry, if you ever run across that name in the church world, about how young adults, Orthodox Christians, can get involved in their normal, in their parish back home. Okay, Khalil's here. And Giovanni. Okay, cool. Awesome. So we are going to get started what our office specializes in talking about, which is Orthodox Christian vocation. Okay, we're going to kind of define what this term means together a little bit, but it has everything to do with the answers you guys just provided. So, you know, from the time that we're in high school, you know, even before that, you know, we start asking ourselves these questions. That's when it starts, is kind of in that adolescent range, and we kind of learn more about it as we go through life, through undergraduate, grad school. You know, it kind of gets revealed to us as we go. But these are some of the big questions that we are asking ourselves. You know, what is life all about? Is my life going to have meaning? What is my purpose? Is it related to the thing I just majored in? You know what I mean? Like, what's the big picture here? Will I make a difference in that thing that I've chosen? And these questions evolve all the time, right? So there's another kind of question that often gets brought up in life, and also comes from the time that we're so young. It's what did you want to be when you grow up? That's like one of the first questions we're ever asked about vocation, right? What did you want to be when you grow up? But those questions didn't stop there. It was after that, when you got a little older, it was, okay, when you graduate, what do you want to major in? And then once you finish undergrad, it's like, okay, where are you going to apply for jobs? What job are you going to get? When are you going to buy a house? When are you going to start a family? Have we like experienced these questions from people in our lives, from our parents and everyone? Yes, because it's all we think about in the modern kind of secular society, right? Life goes from being an exploration to just like this checklist of when I'm going to check all the boxes of my life. And we have to start to realize that that's not at all what Christ is calling us to, right? So we can't feel like our life is being dictated by the checklist questions. So if it's not dictated by that, what should it be dictated by? Well, if we do that too much, instead of being these present-oriented human beings, we're always thinking about the next step, we turn into future-oriented human doings, which is not what we were created to be, according to God, right? So before we get into the nitty-gritty of what vocation is, let's start with a little bit of the history of this word vocation. So vocation comes from this Latin word. Does anyone want to volunteer a guess as to what this word means in Latin? Linguists out there? No? Any Latin? Anyone take Latin? Vocare means to call. Okay, vocare means to call. So already with this word vocation, we're hearing about calling. Okay. That's maybe not news to us, right? But it bears more thinking about. So when this word was first used, when you talked about the calling, it came from Latin. It meant almost exclusively in the Roman Catholic Church that you were called to a religious profession, that you were going to be a nun, a monk, or a priest. That's what vocation meant. But then this guy comes along, okay? Does anyone know who this guy is?
Yeah, I recognize him, but
Oh, Khalil knows.
I recognize him, but I don't know Is it Kant? Nah, not the
It's
philosopher.
not.
Mar-
It's not
Martin
Kant.
Luther?
Luther.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
yeah, Martin Luther. Okay. Martin Luther started the Protestant Reformation. He kind of changed the idea of, okay, well, someone can be called not just to the religious vocation, but for him, uh, vocation meant whatever job you're called to by God, that's your vocation. Okay, that's a very Protestant idea, and it's actually kind of the one that we inherited in our Protestant United States. So even today, it's like your vocation is your dream job, right? You try to find your dream job, that's your vocation, you'll be happy. But really, that's not the Orthodox approach to this word vocation. So what is orthodoxy and how does it relate to vocation? So if it's a calling, the question is not what is my calling, but first we need to answer who is calling us, right? We know that that person who's calling us is Jesus Christ. Okay, first and foremost, as Orthodox Christians, it's a personal call from Jesus Christ. So can I have a volunteer to read this text that's on the screen? Maybe Aaron, can I ask Aaron to read it? If you...
Hey, I'm still in transition right now. Do you think I could do the next one?
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, sorry.
Rita, can you do it for us?
Yes. Sorry, my voice is a little raspy.
No worries.
Then one of the scribes came and asked him, which is the first commandment of all? Jesus answered him, the first of all the commandments is, hear, O Israel, the Lord of our God, the Lord is one, and you shall love the Lord of your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, with all of your mind, and with all of your strength. This is the first commandment. The second is this, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. There is no other commandment greater than these.
Thank you so much. So does anyone notice anything about this verse of scripture as it might relate to vocation? Any ideas? To me, there's like one specific thing that just jumps right out at me. I think it comes right here. Can you guys see my little dot? Right here, guys. The first commandment, Christ says the most important commandment right here for you to read. And the first word that comes out of his mouth is hear, O Israel. Basically, listen, guys. This is what I'm trying to tell you. This is what I'm calling you to, right? So our Orthodox Christian vocation is personal. It's personal. It comes from Jesus Christ to us. And our job is first and foremost to listen. So even back in ancient Judaism, this commandment is called the what? The Shema, right? It means to hear, right? So we need to hear God's commandments and act accordingly. That's what God is most concerned with. All right. Normally we would do an activity. We're running short on time. We're going to skip the activity and move on because we're running out of time. But I want to bring this other passage from Scripture to mind. Does anyone know what is happening in 1 Kings in this chapter? A very famous prophet is involved. Any ideas? So this is the part where Elijah goes up to the mountain and he's waiting and listening for God. Can I have a volunteer to read this one? Khalil, can you read this one?
And behold, the Lord passed by, and a great and strong wind rent the mountains and brake in pieces the rocks before the Lord. But the Lord was not in the wind, and after the wind an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the next one too. Yeah. And after the earthquake a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire, and after the fire a still small voice.
Thanks, Khalil. So why we bring this up too is because our vocation, this calling from God, it's often so hard to hear. And similarly to the meme activity, we can get caught up in the loudness around us. So whether that's the voice of other perspectives, or in Elijah's case, it was the earthquake, the fire, the wind. But God comes, as you all know, in that still small voice, knocking at our heart, the thing that's heard, what kind of seems to be in a foolish way that doesn't sound productive or triumphant or powerful. That's where the voice of the Lord is. And it's one of those things where, as you all know and you've lived through, you can't define it or describe it really with words, but you know that's how you speak to the Lord, through that silence and the Jesus prayer in front of your icon corner, through the mysterious sacraments of our church. So we try to bring this point up so that when it's overwhelming to kind of figure out what my parents want me to do, what this, the Lord is already telling us in the still small voice always.
Yeah, sometimes we get caught up in the idea that God's going to show up in like the lightning flash, and that we're just going to get it somehow, or that God's going to intervene. But really, Scripture tells us again and again that it's about waiting and listening. We have the way of hesychasm, the way of the heart, the way of the Jesus prayer, right? We seek God internally first. As Caroline said, that knocking, right? And we wait for that still small voice that comes, maybe when we least expect it. So the main point, I love this quote, maybe you want to write it down if you can. Mother Gavrilia says, what does God want me to do? Be here or go there? The answer is, God is not interested in where you are or what you do. He is only interested in the quality and quantity of the love you give. Nothing else, nothing else. This is the next slide too. Nope. Okay. So take a minute to write this down if you want to. Oops, sorry again. Yeah, we get caught up in the questions, in the checklist, in the what am I going to do next? What does God want me to do? We think that's a noble question. And in a sense it is, right? But really, God's not interested in the what, but more in the how. Does anyone know that quote from St. Justin Popovich where it's like, through God, through Christ, that's the story of how a teacher becomes a holy teacher, a student becomes a holy student, an engineer becomes a holy engineer, a politician becomes a holy politician, and he lists like 50 professions just to prove that it's not about the profession you have, it's about sanctifying the profession that you have, right? So at CrossRoad, from this idea, we whittle down the definition, the CrossRoad definition of vocation, which also might be helpful to write down if you want. Your unique and ongoing response to Christ's call to love God with heart, soul, strength, and mind, and love your neighbor as yourself. So right here in this vocation definition, we have that it's a personal call from Christ. It involves the greatest commandment, loving God with heart, soul, strength, and mind, and loving neighbor as yourself. And also that it's unique and ongoing. Your vocation started as one thing when you were in high school, and now you guys, like me, we're in young adulthood. Maybe some of you are in significant relationships. Maybe you're married. Maybe you're thinking about those steps, right? It's unique to you, and it changes as you age. So we shouldn't expect to have all the answers at any point in our journey. It's just a continuation of that discovery. Your unique and ongoing response. No one has a call like yours. Because life is not about a title, life is about a person. And the person is Christ.
If you know any high school juniors and seniors that want to come to CrossRoad this summer and spend 10 days answering this and discovering it, please send them our way. Our applications are open, and we'd be happy to provide Andrea with, sorry, I keep rolling my R when I say your name. We'd be happy to provide Andreas with more information to send over to you if you know any siblings, cousins, friends, whatever. Because think back to when you were that age, hearing that hits, but it also hits now too. So
Good things to remember always as you continue your journey. Thank you for letting us join you. Maybe can we just play the CrossRoad video?
sure,
that-
yeah. So you
is
get
that-
a little taste of
Yeah, okay.
how it is. usually.
Awesome. Yep. So we have this video prepped and ready for you guys.
Even if it's a small step in the right direction, it could be the best step of your life.
CrossRoad is
eye-opening,
fulfilling.
spiritual growth,
CrossRoad is family.
the map into the walk of life.
A wonderful, joyful time together.
It's not what you would expect.
I had questions about my faith.
Will this really affect me? Is this really worth it? It is. It's definitely worth it.
It's life-changing, and I didn't think it would be.
It's not just a church camp, it's not just prayers, it's so much more than that. You really build connections. It was truly a life-changing experience.
I had my own opinion before I came in here. I'm like, okay, it's just gonna be classes and services and but it was not what I expected at all. It's definitely a life-changing experience, and if you want to feel something like that, you should do it.
The CrossRoad.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sticking around for that. CrossRoad is awesome. Typically, again, for high school juniors and seniors. So if you're currently a junior or senior, that's who it's geared toward. We have 4 summer sessions, but also, just so you guys know, coming your way in the near future is also a CrossRoad for young adults, CrossRoad 2.0. So that will hopefully be available to you guys in the near future. An opportunity where young adults can gather together, retreat for 10 days, visit parishes from all jurisdictions, pilgrimage, take a pilgrimage to venerate saints' relics, take classes with Orthodox professors, and really dig into the deep well that is the Orthodox faith. So again, thank you guys for your time. If any of you guys want to stick around with questions about what we do or what CrossRoad does, you're welcome to stay. But otherwise, we will end the recording, and yeah, we will see you guys later. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Alex and Caroline.